Right, welcome to this tutorial on how to make your word block. We're going to start off in Illustrator and we're going to use our text tool and just write our name. So let's do the name Nick. All right, so the width on the 3D printer is about 7 inches. So we're just going to make our name 7 inches wide. But if you want to make it smaller than that, you can. Now, we're never going to keep the default font. We always want to change that. And we want to select a font that, just ignore all this. Okay, select a font that has some thickness to it. Okay, so something like this would be good. Okay, now you want your letters to be touching each other. Okay, so we can do that with our character menu. So you go to Window. If you go up here, I'll just show you. Window type character, and then you can look through your various fonts. Now, of course, you can always install additional fonts. There's good fonts on DAF font or also on Adobe fonts. Let's say I'm going to use this one. So in the character menu, you have this setting right here, which they call tracking, but it's really, the proper term is kerning, and that's the spacing between the letters. So notice when I go to negative numbers, I'm bringing the letters closer together. If you click here, you can jump up to, say, minus 100 or minus 75. Okay, so actually like the spacing here between the C and the K. It could go a little bit tighter between the I and the C. So to do that, I can just highlight the I and then continue to go lower. So the kerning between those two is different than the rest. Now the N and the I, if I click on the N and bring this closer together, we run into a problem. So sometimes you'll have letters that have big vertical bars, and when you merge them together, it maybe doesn't look so great. This looks like a giant block. Okay, so I'm gonna go over how to fix that. Now, one way around that actually is I'll just undo that. Say I put a last name underneath there. Okay, so let's do that. I'll put say the name Smith. Oh, I accidentally joined that. Just cut that out. Smith. So here, this would solve the problem. Okay, because the I is now supported by the M down below here, which is connected at various points. Okay, so that would be a nice solid word block, just like that. Okay, so that's one way around it. But say I don't want to have the last name, and I want to merge the N to the I, bring that closer together. Now I'm ready to expand it. So I'll just right click on it, say create outlines. I could also go up to object expand. And notice there's some overlapping parts here, so I need to merge them or unite them. So I open up the Pathfinder menu, go to Window Pathfinder, and I click on Unite. Now it's all one block. And now I'm going to just edit this. So what I want to do is actually make this notch between the N and the I a little more pronounced. I still want to have them touching, but just not quite so much. So I can use my direct selection tool and then just grab this one anchor point and just drag it down. If necessary, I could make an additional anchor point. Okay, but in this case, there was already a slight notch there. So that should suffice, just like that. Okay, so now there's more of a separation between the N and the I, and I think it just looks better. Okay, so I can size this now if I want to. Okay, I'll make it just over 6 inches. So now I'm ready to save it. So I'm going to save this as an SVG file. So I go to File, Save As, and then select SVG, which is at the bottom here. I'll just call this Nick, and I'll save it I'll save it onto the desktop, sure. I could save it in Documents. I'll save it in Documents. So I just click on Save, and then OK. All those defaults are good. So now I'm ready to move on to the next app, which is a browser-based app, Tinkercad. Okay, so just Google Tinkercad, tinkercad.com. You can make an account if you don't have one using your Google. So I have one here, and I'm just going to click on Create New Design, and this new window opens up. Now to bring in my SVG, I just go over here to Import up on the right, I choose the file. So I put it in Documents. So I select Nick SVG, import, and that should place it in here. Just takes a minute to process the file. And there we go. All right, so now I need to resize it. It's a bit big. The units by default are millimeters. Hold down Shift as you're resizing so you don't stretch it. If you want to change your units to inches, you can go down to the lower right here, click on Edit Grid, and change it to inches. Update grid, and now my units are in inches. So let's say 6.8 roughly. Okay, so that's been sized, and now I want to increase the thickness. So if I grab this little handle here in the middle, I can extrude the shape. So this is showing me the size in inches. So 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, whatever width you want. I'm going to make it 1 inch. Okay, so this is a nice big word block here. So now I'm ready to export it. So I go up to the right hand side and click on export, and I'm going to export it as an STL file, and that goes into the downloads folder. Now it gives us this weird name. They just auto generate these weird names. You can click on that and change the name if you want. So I could call it Nick again, and then click on export STL, and I'll have a file called Nick. Now on your Mac you can open this up in the preview app and look around your file, just make sure it looks good. Looks good to me. So now I'm ready for the final step, which is going to Cura. So if you're not sure if you have it on your machine, just go up to the Spotlight feature and just type in Cura, and if it's installed, it'll be right at the top there. I have it installed, and so now I am ready to place my file. So I can go up here to the upper left, click on the file folder icon, and then go into Downloads where it placed my exported model. Downloads. So there it is, nick.stl, open, and it should be the size that you specified in Tinkercad. So now if you want to move around, you hold down the control key, you can look at your file. You want to make sure that it's resting flat on the bed here. This turquoise color indicates it's lying flat, so that's perfect. So now your settings, you want to make sure that your quality setting is set for normal with a 0.15 millimeter layer height, and you want your infill to be 10%. You also want to deselect support and adhesion. There's no parts dangling out on the side, so you don't need any supports. It's got a nice flat base, so you don't need any adhesion. And now you click on slice. Okay, so this will make the G-code file that you need. And if you have an SD card from the 3D printer plugged into your computer, this will say save to removable disk. If you don't have it plugged in, you can just say save to disk. Save it wherever you want, documents or desktop. It's called um2_nick in this case, and it have .g-code on the end of it. And so we'll just say save. And that's what you're going to put on the SD card and then place into the 3D printer. So that's the whole process. 3 apps. So you go from Adobe Illustrator to Tinkercad to the Cura app, and you're ready to print.